Hello, friend. I haven't uploaded in a while, and you know what happens when you don't upload in a while? You get a lot of stories, a lot of fires, a lot of sabotage. Let's get down to it. I think this video, usually I say I think this video is going to be short. Well, this time I know this video is going to be long. It's going to be freaking long. It's crazy. So let's get into it. I want to get to the main story, the three main stories, but we got so much different events that's happening all over. It's crazy, man. I can't even take a break, man. Look at this. First one, vehicles set on fire on a import export business. This comes from November 25. That shows you how long it's been since I've uploaded, man. Yeah, you see, Ange Predict says it's crazy out there. A firebombing per hour. Exactly. He gets it. He knows all about it. Exactly, man. I'm shocked. So let's get into it, man. Look at this. What up, Chris? So we got this one's in Saint Laurent. This one, we talk about fires and vehicles being set on fire. There is not another neighborhood that has a record of this. The one that has the highest numbers of this since we've been starting, it was Ville Saint Laurent in Montreal. And the business this time is Transport Magique Maritime SK. And it was a target of... Wow, this is a bit surprising. They worded this as the following. It was a target of numerous fires on vehicles on the night of Monday to Tuesday. I guess they set off multiple vehicles is what they mean, It almost sounds like they're saying they set fires multiple times that night, which I don't really think... I don't buy that one. So I think it's just a question of words. The 2:30 a.m. in the morning. So that was November 25. So I'm going fast because there's just too many of these. Another one. Oh, look, Anjou. Now we got a neighborhood that's not too far away. Vehicle set on fire, November 29. And this time at 9:30 is when the ambulance, what do you call it, firefighters got the call. So just a few days later, in the same city, neighborhood nearby. Next story, we got 2nd of December. Now we go, like 2 or 3 days later? Now we flying to Quebec City. They're saying 2 criminal acts in one night. Well, what criminal act? You see in the picture, seems like this vehicle was put on fire. Now we're flying from Montreal and we're going to a completely, probably, most definitely, a different storyline. Because in Montreal it's going to be more of the same actors doing that same thing over and over. In Quebec it will more than likely be the same actors doing it over and over, but not the same ones from Montreal and whoever they are. But it says the fire, so 2nd of December, fire at 9 p.m. It's always the 9 p.m.s, the 11 p.m.s, the 2 a.m.s, the 6 a.m.s, right? But this one's in Charlebourg. That's our key here. It's in the red zone. Fire in the red zone. So we do know there's a storyline between the independent gangs that are breaking away from the Hells Angels or have broken away. And we also know that we found out recently through the reports that... what's his name? Ryan Wedding, the kingpin, who was moving tons of blow. He forged an alliance with many people across Canada, and he one of them being the Atnaona street gang, Montreal, organized crime, Haitians, and that guy, he just got arrested, right? Extradited. He's going to be extradited to the U.S. most probably. And the story goes like this: Mr. Ryan Wedding, they believe he's among the people who have been flooding Canada. That's why the prices have been going down. No longer the bikers hold the monopoly in certain parts of Canada. So this, you see, if criminal fire burning in Quebec City, there's a high likelihood this is part of that storyline in some fashion. So yeah, okay, we don't need to spend more time on this. You could see it's done on a home or a building of sorts. Looks like a home. Next one, we're continuing. Criminal fire at the home of a boxing promoter. Promoter of boxing, Yvon Michel, home is torched. Why is boxing promoter from the... Now we fly back to Montreal, by the way. Well, sort of Montreal. The South Shore of Montreal. So he lives in the South Shore, I guess. You have his vehicles set on fire. Who's trying to send him a message? It happened at 5 in the a.m. The suspects fled. The question is, what does Mr. Yvon Michel have to do with any of this? Is his gym being extorted? Does he own a boxing gym? Are they extorting his business, or is he involved with people and he made an enemy or something? Which one is it? I have no clue. But he says that they think that it was a mistake, that it wasn't, probably they thought they had the wrong house, is what I'm reading here. Without reading too much, because we don't want to go word for word when we got so many, right? And like Malik says, let's go. And Heretic Crone, good day, right back at you. And everybody else. And on the next one, vehicle set on fire in a home in Longueuil. Now, fitting enough, a home set on fire on the South Shore. Same place. So we got a boxer place being torched in the South Shore. And this was, sorry, I need to find the date. This is December 2nd. Now, this one is November 26th. Okay, we actually go back 5 days. We actually go back 5 day business. Is that a home? Did he say a business or a residence? A residence. Now, a residence was set on fire. Now, I need to remind you, lately, about a month ago, we started for the first time in these reports. They are not mine. I'm just translating them, summarizing them because they are in French. Well, we've been hearing these reports. Initiating the South Shore for us with the fires and the extortions and things like that. It was always in the island of Montreal, right? The island itself. Now it's come down to the South Shore. Businesses are receiving, envelopes with rounds in them, and that are being left at the doorsteps of businesses, as a message: you pay or else. So they've been covering that about a month ago, and now you're going to start seeing more and more action down there. So we could start with this residence being burned, and that's about it. No more info than that. So we were back at November 26th. Next one, December 6th. We jumped to December 6th. A criminal fire on a vehicle, possibly. They think possibly. Vehicle in Val-Bélair. So this is another area where we leave Montreal completely. They're talking about the Ville de Québec here. I'm not familiar with the neighborhoods, with the zones. I just know a few off the top of my head because we covered the stories. So, but it seems like they're saying it's in Quebec City. So we go back probably to the red zone. Fire at 2 a.m. The same as usual. They're suspecting that it was set on the vehicle as part of a criminal scheme again. Next story. Now we come back to the downtown of Montreal. We flying back today, huh? Back and forth, man. What's up, Danny Salvage Music? What up, buddy? Thank you for a shout out. I appreciate that, Danny. We're in the downtown of Montreal. Criminal fire damages a commercial building. So minor damage, they're saying. It happened at 1:55. All those 2 a.m.s, 1:55, things like that. It's probably because they don't want people. Number one, they don't want people to see them torching the place. Two, I like to think the best of people. And I think that they might not want to have actually people die, which is a pretty damn good idea. I approve. Not that I approve burning at all, but I approve not hurting people. So 1:55. This time, if you're curious, it's on crazy. It was on the intersection of De la Montagne in Sainte-Catherine-West. If I remember, De la Montagne is going to be in the western part of the downtown. Oh, it should. Look, the answer's obvious. Sainte-Catherine, near Guy Street type of place. That area, interesting. Near Westmount. So they're talking about a commercial building set on fire, and the thing is, it's criminal. That's what you need to realize. This damn, man, never ending, huh? Next one, round. Now we fly back to Quebec, back and forth. We got rounds being let off in Lévis, Quebec City, red zone. Young suspects arrested for attempted offing. What do we have here? We got a Loic, 19 years old, Charlie, 22, Simon Olivier Roy, 21, and a minor who's 17, all arrested. Now I'm wondering if this is just a young hoodlums and fighting each other type of scenario. In that case, I would not care. But they're talking about accused of attempted offing. I want to read something about, is this tied to stupefier trafficking? That's what I'm really interested in. I'm skipping most of that. Okay, here you go. We're reaching here. We're getting there. Wrong targets. In both cases, the shooters would have made a mistake on the identity, according to our infos of this newspaper. The attack on Dusquet was... No, in the attack... Okay, I just got to see something here. We're going to have to read a little bit so we're not completely lost. They arrested 4 suspects in who shot... after the shooting in Saint-Jean-Chrysostome a month ago. So this happened a month ago. And we have like 4 young ones arrested, okay? Rounds being left on the windows. You see this. There you go. This event is tied to the stupefier conflicts. It's confirmed by the cops, referencing the war between bikers and the independent street gangs. Got it? Look. So it seems like they're talking about another event as well. I don't want to spend time reading all of this for you because it's inconsequential, really. But we can follow the flow here. They're saying that this is the 4 suspects are accused of attempted offing. Got it? Breaking and entering. Got it? The 4 individuals are accused of having voluntarily killed and hurt dogs. Now that's horrible. That's what I don't, how can you say, why do you need to hurt a dog? Maybe they have guard dogs and the dogs are barking, running at them. I don't know, Doberman or something. And I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? One of those strong dogs, and you're afraid for your life, and you take out your pistol, I guess, and then you shot him. But if you shot a puppy or things like that to send a message, that it's really horrible. I love dogs. But let's see where we are here. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to skip a little bit. So there's another event they're talking about, but there's another case where someone was gravely hurt. But I just want to... It says here, in these 2 cases, the shooters made one mistake, the mistake on the identity. In the attack of Dusquet, it's a relation or friend of the Hells Angels who became close to the BFM, who had once resided at the address that should have been killed. So someone who became friends with BFM. He used to work for the Hells Angels. Now he works for BFM. And that's the person who was targeted. So this is what this is all about. Okay, got it. And there was a young woman who was also injured, and she has a GoFundMe now, Yeah, probably innocent person than this. Okay, next story. A detainee, or a prisoner, or someone who's in prison who was affiliated to the BFM, who took part of the hostage-taking in Saint-Malachie. You remember the infamous Saint-Malachie incident? One of the biggest stories to have happened about, 2 years ago? When we were covering the BFM right at the beginning when it was hitting the news, like the big blockbuster news. They held the guy hostage. I think one of them broke out of the window. First they cut pieces off of him, you know what I'm saying? And they filmed it like Mexico cartel style, you remember? And I think something about they knocked him out. He woke up. And I don't know. They weren't checking him, and then he broke from the window or something like that. He escaped his own house that he was hostage from. That was the Malachie incident, I believe. So here they're saying that a prisoner, one of the guys who was arrested for that, dies in prison. How did he die? That's the question. He died while under the control of the law, right? The man's name is Dave Galien Picard, 32 years old. Now they're just going back to Malachie, what I just told you about, where they cut the ears of someone, remember? Yeah, they're just talking about his case. So how did he die? They're talking about his case here. Delivery of stupefiers. In an interview with Le Journal, this newspaper right here, the president of the syndicate, you call this union of correctional officers of Quebec, the president's name, Mathieu Lavoie, confirmed the death of Dave Galien Picard. He gives precision, or he notes the fact that there was a delivery of stupefiers by drone that had happened the previous night through a window, okay? And the delivery of the drone was in the same area where the BFM are detained, okay? What does that have to do with it? The broken window had forced the moving of this cell, so whoever was living there, they had to go somewhere else. It was one of the biggest stupefier seizures. There was tons of pills, he says, okay? Yeah, he says it's a big problem, drone deliveries, etc. And I actually spoke to someone who told me he did that, you know. So I believe him, and we've read tons of stories about that. Now, okay, what happened? He says savagely, you know. Savagely, I guess you can figure this part out, you know, in English, beat. According to our infos, another detainee affiliated with the BFM was savagely, you know what, in the detention of Quebec 2 weeks ago. An individual, 34 years old, was accused. Oh, that's the same person. He was accused of firearms or whatever. So, a detainee dies in prison. I don't really see. They didn't mention if he got killed or anything. They talk about somebody else. They talk about his past. I don't really notice them saying if he got killed or not. I guess he got killed. And they're trying to say it has something to do with bringing the drones in or whatever. I don't know. Next one, Dollars des Ormeaux. Second criminal fire in 3 days on the same commerce. So now we are on the December 3rd, and we're in the West Island. A commerce situated on Brunswick Boulevard and Des Sources was a target of a second attempt at setting fire in less than 3 days. Less than 3 days. They're targeting the same place. They're harassing the same business owner. They're cranking it up. Someone didn't want to pay. Why should he? At 2 in the morning. All right, and that's when it happened. 2 in the morning. So attacked twice, West Island. And, we've had last summer, not this summer that just passed. The summer before that, we had tons of action in the West Island. Tons of action there. Do you remember? This kind of action. We've had these. All right, next one. Laval and Montreal. Criminal fires and rounds being let off on 5 bars. When does this stop? December 4th, like 3 days ago. Now we see a Hendrix Cafe, cocktails there, a police stationed there. At 4 in the morning, the beginning of a fire was signaled in front of Hendrix Bar on Maurice Duplessis in RDP neighborhood. Okay, we're in Montreal. On the night of Wednesday to Thursday, this one that just passed, was particularly agitated in Montreal and Laval, when 5 bars and restaurants were targeted by rounds and fires in a new episode of Waves of Extortion that's been ravaging in the last 3 years. Now imagine that. 5, guys. You thought it was bad before, you know? Now we're breaking records. 5 in one evening. Different places. Imagine that, growing bold as ever. First, at 1:15 on Thursday, they received a call. This one was on Boulevard Newman. This is in Southwest. So this is La Salle. Yeah, that's it. And when they arrived, they found impacts of rounds. So they shot at the place. They found the shells on the ground. And you know the rest. They're searching everything. No one was injured at the time, right? This is 1:15, but it should be open at 1:15. It's a bar, right? The police, so that was bar, what's the name? They don't give the name of the bar here. I guess it's this. Yeah, this is the name. So bar or cafe. Says the police tie Café San Remo to a group of the mafia, of which the members have been arrested for stupefier trafficking. Southwest Mafia, remember we had the cane bust twice last year. Was it this year or last year? From last year to this year, it was twice. They believe it's the same group. That was the same pipeline of cane from the same Italian gangsters. Remember that? Now, I don't know, but it seems they're talking about this. I only know of one group in the Southwest. And they're talking about a Café San Remo tied to a mafia group of which the people were already arrested for stupefy trafficking. So I guess, that's the cafe that's been attacked. It's being attacked, guys. And then this one is Cafe Dolce Vita. Now they're talking about another one. 25 minutes later, another misdeed was committed on Resto Bar Dolce Vita. This time, we fly from southwest of Montreal all the way north across Montreal. We're no longer there. Now we're in Laval, which is it's like when you say you go from New York, how can you say Manhattan to Brooklyn? For those who don't know, it's like Manhattan to Brooklyn type of thing. So you go from Montreal to Laval. Now, 25 minutes later, after San Remo got the message, now Resto Bar Dolce Vita gets the message in Laval in Saint-Martin-Est at approximately 1:55. Now, I'm curious about the time. Did we have the time? So the La Salle one was at 1:15. This is the one in La Salle, 1:15. I guess San Remo. 40 minutes later, you go to Laval, there's another one. And this time, another cafe with an Italian name. No, wait a second. No, it was Cafe Dolce Vita. No, that's it. We're good. Oh, my bad. I misread this completely. So this happened at 1:15. Okay? 1:15. 25 minutes later. My bad. 25 minutes later, in Laval, we got the Dolce Vita one that happened. And then, 20 minutes? Was it at 1:55. 1:55. Let's keep it simple. My math is not going to be good. 1:55. So just a few minutes later, This time, it was the turn of Cafe Azzurri. So I don't believe in coincidences. Neither do you. Within a span of 1 hour, you got one in the southwest getting attacked. They tie it to the mafia. Then you fly to another mafia neighborhood. You go to the Laval. And you got Dolce Vita that gets the message. And then just a short few minutes later, you got a Cafe Azzurri, in Laval that's also targeted. Interesting, isn't it? You believe in 3 coincidences like that in one evening? I don't. I know you don't. Then in the 2 cases, no one got injured. Got it? Now the teams are deployed from the cops. Now, according to our infos, the owners or the managers of Cafe Azzurri would have been a target of threats tied to extortion in the last month. Interesting. Finally, early Thursday morning, 2 establishments from the east of Montreal. Now we're flying away from the western part, the northern part. We're going more to the eastern part, and now in Montreal. 2 places were targeted by fires. So just want to triple check. Yeah. So it's all happening like one after the other, pretty much. This one's so we were at 1 a.m. Now we get to 4 a.m. What are the 2 places? Oh, okay. It's the Hendrix Tapas Bar on Maurice Duplessis in RDP. Now, RDP is also another faction of the mafia. We know that he had a car dealership around there. Was that it? Car dealership was burned. Now I'm just noticing this. 4 a.m., another fire. Now we're going to RDP. How convenient did we get to RDP? And it's a Hendrix bar. It's a bar, What else do we got? And then, we're not done yet, friend. 5:35 in the morning, it was the turn of the Beaches Pub in Langelier in Saint-Léonard. Oh, just to give us the finishing touch, we go to Saint Leonardo, just to give the finishing touch. Perfectly done, The nucleus. Now we go to the nucleus of the mafia's neighborhood. We got Saint-Léonard, the old neighborhood they used to be at. They're still there, but you know what I'm saying. So the 5:35, there's the Beaches Pub that gets attacked. He gets the same treatment. This time, anyways, just they're talking about the damages. They're checking all the hypotheses and all that. Okay, here you go. Now we're getting some infos, guys. According to our info, the police ties Hendrix Tapa Bar. So Hendrix Tapa Bar, I just want to memorize this. Good goodies. East of Montreal, RDP. Hendrix Tapas Bar, RDP. So here they're saying the police tie Hendrix Tapa Bar to Marco Pizzi. So What did I tell you, huh? What did I tell you? The guy with the car dealership. I told you the story. You see how coincidental things just magically come together. When you throw out pot shots like this, how fitting. So we got they're tying Hendrix Tapas Bar to Marco Pizzi, a chief of the mafia present in the Northeast. That's the cell I was referring to you being extra vague. There you have it. And Beaches Pub belonging to David Barberio. So Beaches Pub. So I like to see it like this because I could try to create my own story in my head. So Marco Pizzi, if we're playing like that, it might not be the case, but if we're playing like this, Marco Pizzi is the landlord of the RDP area, and maybe we got the David Barberio Beaches Pub. Beaches Pub was Saint Leonard. Saint Leonard. So is he the landlord of Saint Leonard? I wonder. Where are we now? Yeah, remember he's in prison. He should be in prison right now. He was arrested on the 12th of June, and remember the investigation for the murder plots. Bunch of mafia members were arrested. You remember? Leonardo Rizzuto was arrested. I think what's his name? The Hell's Angel. Ace La Riviere was arrested. And remember, just like last week or 2 weeks ago, they allegedly. They still hypothesis. Police believe they faked their own assassination attempt in the prison courtyard. Remember that? They faked so they can get the transfer, allegedly transferred to, was it Bordeaux prison? So they can run business easier that way, So, Barberio was arrested in the operation for the reason why they're all in prison, basically. The reason they were in that courtyard. It's the arrest on the 12th of June. It tied to the Frederick Silva snitching thing, All right. Now, I never heard about this one. No longer than Wednesday, the Laval police announced a big operation baptized Project Vigilance, which is a project aimed at curbing the extortion on Île Jésus. Jesus Island? Extortion on Jesus Island? Man, how wrong, to extort the island of Jesus. The police are targeting 180 establishments and commerces during this offense. They have identified particularly the Greek gangs of Chomedzi as being behind a big part of these misdeeds. Now, you remember Greek gangs of Chomedzi? Do you remember like a month ago or two? Remember the Greek gangster? They called him Bobby the Greek. He got assassinated inside of a Starbucks. Remember, that was big news, big blockbuster news. So his gang, they believe, was behind the extortion of the Jesus Island and probably others. But I do remember a few months before that, we also heard, this is one thing that's not mentioned in much at all, pretty much only mentioned one time, but we need to figure out, to make sense of what's happening in the city. About 5-6 months ago, maybe, was it 5-6 months? I cannot recall, but they actually accused Irish gangsters of being part of some extortion schemes, and it was not small. It was multiple places. The police had their own operation just for that, and we were shocked to find that out. But then after that, no more mention. So all I'm saying is, it's not as simple as the Greeks of Chomedzi. There seems to be multiple people doing this, or they're all working together. I have no idea, but there's multiple groups. So, and we got Arab Power in there, and then it gets just even more complicated. Since the beginning of this year, 2025, there's been 76 misdeeds of extortion. Now, they don't say if it's per province. I guess they're saying it's for Laval only. It's the best I can do. Yeah, because they're saying the police, and they were talking about the police of Laval. So just imagine, just Laval itself, It's not Montreal City. Laval is, there's less people there. Most people live in Montreal, there's more population there. But only that one by itself got 76. Just imagine. So there you go. Continues. Next one. Vast operation of anti-stoop fires in Quebec. We're leaving Montreal now. Now we're going in the province, other places. Seems to have in the mountainous regions. There's an operation. We're not going to spend time on this. I don't see any details. So just you need to know cops are cracking down on bikers, in my opinion, based on these regions. It's always tied to bikers. Now, next one, another police operation, or maybe they're talking about the same thing. This one was December 3rd. This one's December 5th. It could be that we're getting more details on that. It could be. Because that one was pretty vague. They're saying police operation against producers of stoop fires working for the Hells Angels. Astronomical quantities of stoop fires are seized in the last 2 days. So what do you think? It has going to probably have to do with that operation we just talked about that was vague. It was in Saint-Sophie. They went for arrests, they seizures. What do we got? 32,000 Canadian, money, 94,000 units of M&Ms, 25 keys of the Brown plant. Everything else. This one's pretty big. 270 keys of Skittles in powder form, and then the THC. I ignore those. I try to ignore those. You got the precursors, or what do you call these? The cuts to, when you buy some cane, it's not going to be cane. It's diluted so much. They add stuff to make you believe you got more than you paid for. Pretty much all the blow all across the board here is like this. It's pitiful. And then you take it, you're gonna get your high. You're gonna think it comes from that, but it's actually coming from an analog thing. And then you have a mega crash after. You feel horrible, and you think blows like that, but where you just took something else, and they made money off of you. They sold you a high price, an exaggerated price. The price of cane is crazy for when you go buy a unit, and they're selling you for the whole price of it, but you didn't even buy cane. 15 arms. And then, cell phones, 9 cell phones, luxury watches. It doesn't seem like they got anything super interesting to me. The Skittles is interesting, 270 kilos. That's not a joke. The $4,500 of keys, of cut, which could be cellulose or caffeine, things like that. So they were probably making M&Ms. And you could see they actually have the M&Ms here. So I don't even want to use the real words, Next story. So that, I guess it's big enough. Sorry about that. Are we almost done? Yeah, I think we got three more. All right, we go to the main stories. Main story, guys. God bless. Thank you. He's nice. He's really nice. Check this out. He's nice. Resurrection of Satan's Choice. The SQ is worried. Satan's Choice is back. They say that Satan's Choice is back in the province. It's a club that had disappeared from the country. That has a historic past over here, and the police are worried that it will have eventual tensions with the Hells Angels. Now, I recall our friend here, Biker News Canada, did an interview with the president of Satan's Choice. I hope I don't got this wrong. I don't have a good memory, but I believe it was Satan's Choice. I watched the interview, and the guy from Satan's Choice, he had a lot of kind things to say about the Hells Angels. It seemed like he was friend with the Hells Angels from British Columbia. So probably not. Probably there won't be this problem here. It says during the 70s, Satan's Choice was implicated in the first biker war. The first biker war. So some of you think the biker war was the one from the 90s with Mambouche, Hells Angels, Rock Machine. It was a big biker war. But there was a biker war in the 70s before that. And actually, I covered this on the channel in the early days. Actually, I think I still have some videos. If you look at the storyline sections, I believe I have some where I briefly mentioned these older clubs. Tried to make something entertaining for you back in the days, when I was horrible at it. But it's still enjoyable. There's still it'll bring you back to the past. It's a beautiful history. Although the subject matter is kind of disturbing about humans, but I like to study human behavior. I like to study what happened and then ask myself why. And I actually really enjoy the story of the biker story, a history of Canada, what happened, and they were younger back in the day. They were not 40, 50, 60-year-old bikers. They used to be 18, 19. There was a time back then when you can actually afford stuff. You could actually buy a motorcycle. You didn't have to be already rich. Basically, nowadays it's like buying a freaking luxury vehicle. But back then, teens would buy motorcycles. It was a thing. Daddy didn't need to buy it for you. So during the 70s, the Satan's Choice were implicated in the first biker war of Canada against the Popeyes, which the Popeyes became the Hells Angels. Remember? They formed the first Hells Angels section. At their height, Satan's Choice counted 13 sections in Ontario and Quebec, and they were the most important biker organization in Canada before the Hells Angels arrived. They disappeared in the beginning of the year 2000s when their members and their president, Bernard Guindon, were absorbed by the Hells Angels. From father to son. So that's the guy Biker News Canada interviewed. That was exactly him, which I was talking to you about. But the son of Guindon, or you call him Guindon, I don't know how you guys say it, Harley Davidson Guindon, an ex-member of the Hells Angels of Oshawa, resuscitated the Satan's Choice last summer with the permission of his father, and he announced the creation of the Ontario section, and more recently, British Columbia. There you have them. The question is, will you remain independent, or will you eventually get absorbed by the Hells Angels? If not, will you be part of the Hells Angels network, pretty much underling club? Because not all of them get absorbed, right? The question is, will you be part of the spider web in some fashion? On social media, Guindon says that shares his intention to open a section in all provinces, including Quebec, and publishes images of the logo Satan's Choice with the names Quebec on them, Montreal, and Outaouais. We are discussing with our colleagues all across Canada for an official opening of the chapters of the clubs that began in several provinces, of which one in British Columbia in the last few weeks. According to information that was shared to us, this newspaper, the members of the Hells Angels in these sectors are trying to block, or trying to, block their arrival. Yeah, pretty much. They're trying to, disrupt their arrival. They don't want it. Here it says, this is a quote, "We have detected publications on social media with logos of the club and a couple of names of towns or cities that could correspond to chapters that they are activating. We have yet not corroborated officially their presence in Quebec. However, we have received an information that some members with their vests of the Satan's Choice were seen in bars in the Laurentides area. Virtual disputes," the title. At the moment that we are typing this article, Harley Davidson Guindon has not responded to our invitation to speak to us. In an interview last fall with the Toronto Star and the Vancouver Sun, he showed himself reassuring and says that he did not want problems with the Hells Angels. Sort of like what I was telling you, right? Now, in revenge, or as a consequence, he has some negative... Interesting. I think I'm reading it correctly. He's saying that as a result, this doesn't make too much sense to me. He holds negative speeches. He says negative things towards members of the Hells Angels of Oshawa on social network. So in contrast, I guess it means in contrast. So despite what he said there on social media, he has some negative or disparaging or something like that. I'm afraid of amplifying it. Maybe he didn't, I'd have to see those words. Maybe he didn't. Maybe, people are human. Some people can say stuff. It's not an attack. He could have an opinion, you know what I mean? So I don't want to amplify because I'm not sure what he said, but they're saying something negative. Negative can mean many things. You don't want to make it bigger than it is, and people get hurt for some misunderstanding. Um, yeah, so the cops in Ontario and BC are definitely keeping an eye on this. They're worried. Is this gonna spark something in the future? All right, mega court process for street gangs. Attacked because he had spoken to a double agent. What is this? According to his lawyer, one of the co-accused would have tried to kill Félix Tremblay on the 10th of June, 2025, in his cell in the institution of Gouin. The co-accused of Félix Tremblay, implicated in a plot of homicide, would have tried to kill him because he confided to a double agent, says his lawyer. The murder while he was in detention, of Sylvain Cabucci. Remember, Arab Power member who was murdered recently. Remember that? He would have been killed by one of his co-accused. Oh, so we have a name behind this now. We have a Félix Tremblay in there, for Sylvain Cabucci. Sooner or later we get some answers. So they're fighting it in court. Just trying to skip when I can. Look at this. Look at how it's a small world. So, co-accused in the death of Sylvain Cabucci, Arab Power leader. Okay, let's start there. Look at this. Félix Tremblay also admitted Monday his participation in the voluntary offing of Noel Garcia Frias. Now, do you remember Noel Garcia Frias? There was a bounty to kill Downtown Project members. Remember, the street gangs in Montreal at war with each other? They put a bounty. Remember, we found out it was something like $200,000 per heads. They were going back and forth. And then they killed the wrong person. They killed an innocent person. It was a mistaken identity. That person was Noel Garcia Frias. Completely separate storyline. But how does that storyline somehow manage to intersect with Arab Power leader getting killed in prison? Well, Félix Tremblay might be part of both deaths. Think about that. Funny, huh? How sooner or later, me and you, we land on bombs like this. He was promising sums going up to $50,000 for anybody who could help him accomplish his missions. The 23-year-old man detained a list of 14 men so it wasn't 200,000, it was 50K each, I guess. But it was a total of $2.6 million. There you go. My apologies. This is more correct. So it's Félix Tremblay could get 19 years. That's it. 19 years. Welcome to Canada, man. 19 years, the fake 19 years, when you can come out in probably, who knows, 9 or something, 8, 7. So why should he stop? If he can rack up $2 million before he gets arrested, in those 10 years, he would have made more money than us free out here. It would have been worth it. Where are we? So, according to his lawyer or something, the co-accused would have attempted to kill his client on the 10th of June, 2025, when he was in the same cell. Félix Tremblay was seen... Félix Tremblay was targeted because of an article in the newspaper revealing that he had discussed with a double agent. Damn, just like that. Let's try to catch up, make sure I understand it correctly. Sylvain Cabucci, here you have it. Now, in court, was it the judge or the lawyer? I'm not too sure. I don't care. She recalled the murder of Sylvain Cabucci, another accused in the same case. The leader of Arab Power was killed during an attack of rare violence that happened in prison. One of the co-accused or co-detainees or co-accused was in the same cell with Mr. Tremblay and is implicated in the death of Mr. Cabucci. The accused, whatever, is a court stuff. So they were the two main accomplices. There you go. The two main guys who were finally responsible for killing Sylvain Cabucci. They were also part of the plot to kill... They killed by accident Mr. Noel Garcia Frias when they were actually trying to kill the other guy in Downtown Projects, which they finally did kill. By the way, they actually finally did manage to kill that person. Unfortunately. Let's continue. Okay. They are suspected of being members of different gangs of Laval and Montreal. They would have formed an alliance in order to attack numerous groups, and which generated a conflict of such a big magnitude in the history of gangs of Montreal. According to our police sources, certain of the co-accused are no longer friends since the SPVM caught them, right? So we got Félix Tremblay. I'd like to see a picture, but no picture has been provided. All right, finally, last article. One of the main ones, but the last one. Some guy, I remember, said, "Forger, you didn't cover Gerald Matticks, I say, "You're slipping, dude," or something like that. You're slipping, man. You're slipping. Of course, bro, I can't cover absolutely everything, But it did land. It finally did land. So let's do it. So the death of the boss of the West End gang, legendary figure Gerald Matticks, passed away. And it's been a while, I guess, because now they're having his funeral. Tens of people assist his wake. Here you have a picture. Can you guess who this is? The man himself, part of the second generation biker war, Mr. Salvatore Cazzetta, founder of the Rock Machine. And more recently, what they were saying, they said at a certain point became, don't quote me on this, but I do recall they pointed at him as being the leader of the Hells Angels in Quebec. But now they keep changing the story. One day it's him, one day it's Ace Larivière. You know what I mean? And they keep switching. You never know at the end. You never know. But at a certain point, they were pointing at him. And understandably so. But you have Salvatore Cazzetta here. And you have, forgot his name, but that's his brother right here. This guy, I have no clue. David Castelli. The name I remember, but I don't know who he is. Maybe if I reread his story, I would know. But anyways, doesn't matter. There, you see the police captured a shot of them. And this funeral is in the South Shore, not too far from where Gregory Woolley got killed. No relation, by the way. Just a fun fact on the side. Not so fun. I don't wish anyone death, right? Good. Sometimes it's good to know the locations, know how, repeat them to you, and you know the lore. You create the lore a little bit. So they paid homage to Gerald Matticks, who died on the 21st of November at the age of 83. So the cops were surveilling. I'm going to see and they saw the arrival of the two sons of Gerald Matticks. Jerry and Donald. I think it's very fitting names. Gerald Matticks. You should have a Jerry and a Donald. And here you have them, the two sons right here, dressed somewhat, acting like gangsters themselves. After like father, like son in looks. And what do we got here? Do you have a name here? Visitors. Probably it's a sad day. And you got is this the Scottish skirt, right? The Scottish skirt thing? Or is it Irish? I'm no longer sure. So I thought Gerald was Irish, but I thought this drape here is Scottish. I'm confused. Maybe it's not. I just don't know. But it's cool. And yeah, that's it. That's all the pictures we get. In the morning, they saw the passage of Hell's Angels of the South Chapter. Salvatore Cazzetta, his brother, and David. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, there you go. It says Salvatore Cazzetta equally presented himself to the funeral, I remember, of Richard Matticks, his older brother, the older brother of Gerald Matticks, which was in 2015 in Pointe Saint Charles. Remember the southwest neighborhood, Pointe Saint Charles, where the Irish came, where they decided to live when they arrived in those boats Was it what 100 years ago, 150 years ago? I can't recall. But they arrived, and there was this disease, or it was a very perilous journey. They landed here, and that was the beginning of history. That neighborhood. So what a fitting that he had his older brother. It was in Point St. Charles. Was this one in Point St. Charles too? No, this was in the South Shore. This time it was South Shore for this one. Yeah, I found this very noteworthy and honorable. Toys for children who grew up poor, from poor neighborhoods, basically. Because if you know one thing, Point St. Charles was one of the poorest neighborhoods, and he grew up there. I may have grew up somewhere around there too. I don't like to out myself, but yeah. So as they say, the people who struggled a lot, who come from humble beginnings, very often they have how you say, they have a heart. They have a heart, and as opposed to someone who, like Donald Trump, who wiped his butt with money his whole life. For him, when he sees you struggling, he says, "Quit bitching, quit crying." For him, it's that, because he never had to work a hard job in his life. But people who come from humble beginnings, who struggled, who saw this stuff, usually they have a soft heart for other people that are growing up in the same scenario, usually. But toys for poor children. Gerald Matticks and his brothers grew up in poverty. And they lived in the Catholic Irish community in the Southwest. Him and Richard started their criminal career committing robberies and hijacking trucks, transporting all types of merchandise that they then resold. They distributed chicken and turkey to poor people in their own neighborhoods for Christmas. Gerald Matticks also contributed to the renovation of a Catholic church in the area. So I imagine that there's a good chance that's where he was. Remember that church they talked about? Maybe there's a chance he had spent money on that one. Maybe that's the one. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, members of the family asked in a notice on the death of Gerald Matticks, for guests come show their respects and all that. They put a note to please do not bring flowers, but rather bring toys that will be destined to poor children who attend Point St. Charles Church. I guess they will distribute it. Yeah, don't bring flowers. Do something better. Bring toys. Isn't that great? I gotta respect that. Yeah, many people, the people been doing that, is what they're saying. They notice people bringing in toys, actually gifts. That's amazing. Now, during the 80s, Gerald Matticks became the president of the Union for the Port of Montreal. He then took control of illicit merchandise coming in and out of the port. There you go. And he brought in enormous quantity of stupefyers like that for the Irish, probably cane at the time. And his nickname was the Door, or the King of the Port of Montreal. There you go. And that's it for today, man. Thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. I told you today there was so many fires, and it's crazy. I just stopped for a week or two, and they pile up, But I think these last 2 weeks has been one of the most hardcore amounts, because I don't think we ever heard about 5 in a single day, in a single night. It's getting crazy, and among them, some of them, it was 2 in the 3 days. It's getting insane. You think it can get worse, and it just gets worse. It's shocking. So I guess we're gonna hear about worse than this in the future. But stay tuned as I translate this news, and so it's as if you read it yourself, or else you wouldn't have access to this. It's poof, it's gone, It's just shared among my colleagues in French here. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for being here, and help me out if you want to. Subscribe or hit like, and that's it. And if you want to click join, it's the donation if it helped me continue what I do. I appreciate it. You don't have to, but I'm grateful. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. To everybody, shout out to Ange Predicts, Chris Inslee, Heretic Crone, Wes Dozer, Man in the Middle. I always forget all the names, man, when it's on top of my head. I have to only read what I got, or else I can't remember. I always forget. My First Nations guy, I forgot your name, man. Wish I could recall. You know who you are, buddy. Malik, Danny Salvage Music, sorry. Zach Mitchell, thank you, Zach. He's nice, because he's nice. Fly High, 5 zeros. Music Brazilian, Sheriff, Mr. J, Feedback Fred, always with a feedback, even if it's short. And Triple N. Shout out to Triple N. And lastly, the silent one. You know? Yes, you. You always get a notable mention, you know? Because I like you, man. You've been good to me, man. You know? You've been so good. You heard me F up. You heard me not say something. You heard me stutter. You heard me hesitate. You heard me, I don't know, you heard me read the wrong word, translate something wrong, something like that. But you didn't point the finger, you know, and say, aha, I got you. I got you, man. You didn't do that. You're a smart fellow, you know? And you're a dangerous guy. I don't know what the hell you're involved in. Huh? I don't know what the hell you're involved in, buddy. But, you know, it's, like I say, it's the guy who says nothing, who's the smartest in the room, usually, you know? I respect you, man. You know? I wouldn't mess with you, buddy. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you and everybody. Have a great night, guys. Oh, yeah, and the youth. Exactly. Shout out to the youth as well. Max the youth.